On the day of my wife's baby shower, our neighbor revved his dirt bike up and down the street nonstop for 8 hours, drowning out every game, every toast, every laugh. When I walked over to ask him to stop, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "She'll be screaming soon enough. Get used to noise, Daddy." At the end of the party, we found that someone had poured motor oil across our lawn, killing the fresh sod we had just laid for the baby's first steps. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who plots revenge. I work a 9 to 5 at a supply chain firm. I keep to myself. Wave at neighbors. Mow my lawn on Saturdays. My wife Jenna calls me the calm one. But every calm man has a breaking point. Mine came the day of our daughter's baby shower. Jenna and I bought our house 3 years ago in a Fort Worth suburb. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet, working-class street. Single-family homes, a couple older folks who still sat on porches, a few families with kids. When Jenna got pregnant, I went into overdrive. Painted the nursery. Installed blackout curtains. And I laid fresh sod out front, imagining the day our little girl would take her first steps barefoot across it. The world felt like it was lining up for us. Except for one constant thorn, Derek. Lived directly across the street. Late 30s. Always shirtless, always oily from working on junk cars and dirt bikes. He rented. Never really spoke to anyone. His driveway looked like a scrapyard. I tried to be neighborly. Once, when I saw him struggling to push a broken mower, I offered to lend him mine. He waved me off. Didn't think much of it. Until the shower. The morning of the baby's shower started out perfect. Cool breeze. Decorations going up. Jenna's family arrived. My parents brought folding chairs. Even Jenna's grandma, who rarely left her house anymore, made the trip. At 10:15 a.m., Derek fired up his dirt bike. I figured he'd take a quick ride. No big deal. But he didn't leave the driveway. He just revved it. Over and over. Loud. Obnoxious. Like he was trying to shatter the air itself. By 11, he was riding up and down the street at full throttle. The host tried to start baby shower games, but people couldn't hear her. We cranked up music to drown him out, but he just revved louder. Jenna's grandma tried to give a sweet toast about motherhood. Derek screamed past at full speed, engine howling. The toast died in the wind. By noon, Jenna was on the verge of tears. By 2 p.m., she wasn't holding back. That's when I marched over. I approached Derek as he rolled back into his driveway. Helmet off. Sweat-soaked. Grinning. "Hey man," I started, trying to keep it friendly. "Today's my wife's baby shower. Any chance you can keep it down?" He didn't even blink. "She'll be screaming soon enough," he smirked. "Get used to noise, Daddy." Then he revved the engine again, spraying dirt at my shoes. My jaw tightened. I turned and walked back, fists clenched. Jenna was standing at the edge of our driveway, wiping her eyes. That should have been the end of it. But Derek wasn't done. By 6 p.m., the shower ended. Family packed up, guests said awkward goodbyes, clearly uncomfortable with how the day had gone. Jenna stayed inside, embarrassed and heartbroken. I stepped out front for air, and froze. Our new lawn was ruined. Someone had poured thick black motor oil across the fresh sod. Deep, sticky streaks soaked into the roots. The smell hit me first. Then the sight. I didn't need a detective. Derek's garage door was open. The same oil jug sat in plain view. He stood in his driveway, leaning against his dirt bike, watching me. He knew I knew. I stood there, staring at the dead grass. Jenna came out behind me, took one look, and burst into tears again. That was the moment the calm man inside me died. I didn't storm over. I didn't yell. Instead, I got to work. 1. City violations. My buddy Kyle works in zoning enforcement. I asked him to check into Derek's property. Within 2 days, oh, no permit for auto work. Oh, unregistered dirt bike. Oh, illegal backyard shed. Derek got slapped with $150 in fines immediately, with more coming if he didn't comply. 2. Landlord pressure. I found out who owned Derek's rental, a man named Mr. Rollins, who lived 2 towns over. I sent him a long, detailed email with photos, the dirt bike, the oil damage, the police report I'd filed for vandalism, and a list of neighbor complaints I had quietly gathered. Rollins was furious. Derek had been on thin ice already. An eviction notice was issued. 3. Police attention. Though the oil damage couldn't be proven beyond a doubt, the report meant cops now had Derek on their radar. 2 officers visited his house that week. I made sure every neighbor saw. Derek tried to act unfazed. But I noticed the revving stopped. A few nights later, my car tires were slashed. Guess who? My security camera guessed for me. Full video of Derek crouching next to my car, knife in hand. This time, the police didn't just issue a fine. They arrested him for criminal vandalism. Derek spent a night in jail. His dirt bike was impounded, no plates, no insurance. When he got out, he tried to confront me in the street. "You think you're gonna scare me? You're nothing, man!" I looked him dead in the eye. "No," I said quietly. "But you should be scared anyway." Kyle dropped another golden nugget. Derek had been running an unlicensed auto repair business from his garage. Cash jobs. No taxes. No permits. That's how he paid rent. So I made 2 anonymous calls. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. The IRS. State inspectors showed up first. Cited him for operating without a business license. Unsafe worksite conditions. Multiple environmental violations. Then the IRS opened an investigation into undeclared income. Within weeks, Derek's little empire collapsed. He couldn't pay fines. Couldn't pay rent. And Mr. Rollins had the sheriff ready to enforce the eviction. But I wasn't done yet. When Derek finally fled, left in the night, abandoning the dirt bike and half his tools, Rollins called me. He wanted out. Offered to sell me the house at a reduced price. Jenna and I scraped together every dollar. Help from both sets of parents. A loan. And we bought it. I hired landscapers to tear up the wreckage Derek had left and resod both yards. My daughter took her first steps in that grass. The same spot where Derek had once killed our lawn in spite. The dirt bike? I donated it to a local mechanic school where students stripped it down for parts. And the street? Silent. Peaceful. Ours. For a while, life was quiet. Too quiet. Jenna finally smiled again when she saw the new grass taking root. Our daughter was born healthy. We named her Sophie. My parents came to visit almost every week, bringing groceries and helping out so Jenna could sleep. I thought Derek was gone for good. But a man like that doesn't just crawl away and stay gone. First came the little things. Scratches along the side of my truck. Empty beer cans thrown into our front bushes at night. A dead squirrel left on our porch, laid out almost deliberately. I checked our new security cameras. Night after night, nothing. Whoever was doing it knew where the blind spots were. Or maybe they had help. One Saturday, while pushing Sophie in her stroller down the street, I passed a house 2 blocks over, the last place I ever expected trouble. A black pickup sat in the driveway. Rear window sticker. Texas Proud Riders. I didn't think much of it until I saw Derek standing beside it, talking to another man. Same build, same grease-stained clothes. Except this guy had tattoos creeping up his neck. He didn't see me. But the moment I got home, I checked with Kyle again. The truck belonged to Derek's cousin. Name Mason Calloway. Recently moved in. Rap sheet longer than a CVS receipt. Auto theft. Assault. Illegal modifications. You name it. That night, I heard engines again. Not Derek's old dirt bike. Louder. Deeper. Motorcycles. 3 of them circled the block twice around midnight. Headlights off. Revving low. Sophie stirred in her crib. Jenna clutched my arm, eyes wide. It's starting again, isn't it? I nodded. But this time, we fight back before it gets worse. I documented everything. Tire marks. Beer cans. The dead animal. Photos. Dates. Times. Then I went full scorched earth. 1. Neighborhood association. I gathered signatures from every homeowner on our street. Formal complaints filed against Mason's property for noise, harassment, and safety concerns. 2. City ordinances. Kyle filed 2 anonymous complaints. O. Illegal vehicle modifications. O. Unauthorized commercial activity. I knew they were fixing and flipping bikes again. 3. Police and code enforcement. I handed over my evidence log. Officers paid Mason a visit. Twice. Issued warnings and fines. 4. Landlord leverage. Mason was renting from a private owner. I found her through county records. A young woman who had inherited the property. She had no idea who Mason really was. When I showed her his rap sheet and the growing complaints, she started eviction proceedings immediately. 1 week later, someone shattered our mailbox with a crowbar. This time, the cameras caught Mason himself. Police arrested him within 24 hours. When they searched his place, they found 2 more stolen dirt bikes, unlicensed firearms, illegal vehicle parts. The cousin wasn't getting fines. He was facing jail time. After Mason's arrest, Derek made a final move. He left a note stuffed into our storm door. You ruined my family. Sleep with one eye open. But he underestimated me again. By then, I had already filed for a restraining order. The police were fully briefed on the situation. Any contact, any sighting, and Derek would be in violation. The house he once rented was now ours. The street he once ruled now watched for him like hawks. Every neighbor. Every parent. Even the retired couple 2 doors down kept binoculars by their window. Derek wasn't just facing me anymore. He was facing a community he had betrayed. After Mason's arrest, things finally seemed to settle. Weeks passed. No engines. No vandalism. No signs of Derek. We replaced the mailbox. Jenna even started inviting a few moms over for playdates. Sophie's first birthday came and went, quiet and joyful, just the way we dreamed. But peace is fragile. And men like Derek don't just disappear. It started with a phone call. Blocked number. I answered out of habit. A man's voice, calm but cold. You think you've won? You have no idea what's coming. Click. I stood frozen, the dial tone echoing in my ear. Jenna saw my face and knew immediately. I wasn't taking any chances. 1. Police update. I contacted the officer who handled Mason's arrest. He flagged my address for extra patrols. Any suspicious activity would get immediate response. 2. Security overhaul. I upgraded our cameras. No more blind spots. Motion sensor floodlights. Reinforced locks. Alarm system tied directly to local dispatch. 3. Legal armor. I had our restraining order reviewed and extended. Added Mason's name too, in case of early release. But I knew Derek wouldn't strike directly again. He'd try to be smarter. And he did. About a month after the phone call, a well-dressed man knocked on our door. Said he was a realtor. Claimed a private buyer was interested in purchasing our house. Cash offer. Above market. I didn't even have to guess who sent him. I smiled politely. Tell Derek we're not for sale. The realtor blinked. Excuse me? I know who sent you. Message delivered. I shut the door in his face. Within days, anonymous online posts started popping up. Local Facebook groups. Neighborhood apps. Claims that I was running an illegal business from my home. Accusations of child neglect. Even whispers that Jenna and I were dangerous to the community. All fake. All obviously planted. But gossip spreads fast. Some newer neighbors started pulling away. Jenna's playdate invites went unanswered. We even had a CPS worker knock on our door one evening after an anonymous tip. Luckily, our spotless record and the officer's support shut that down quick. But the damage was done. Jenna cried herself to sleep that night. Sophie clung to her tighter than ever. I sat in the dark living room, staring out the window, my heart burning. Enough was enough. If Derek wanted a war of whispers and shadows, I'd give him something better. I started documenting everything. Screenshots of the online lies. Logs of every strange car that lingered too long near our house. Records of every harassing phone call. Then I filed a civil harassment suit against Derek and Mason, since he'd clearly contributed. The court subpoenaed social media platforms for IP addresses tied to the fake posts. Guess what? They traced back to an address where Derek's new girlfriend lived. And Mason's jail cell phone privileges. Their little smear campaign wasn't just pathetic. It was criminal. The day of the hearing, Derek finally showed his face. Gaunt. Hollow-eyed. Wearing a suit 2 sizes too big. He tried to deny everything. Blamed internet trolls and coincidences. But the evidence spoke louder than any lie he mumbled. The judge granted a permanent restraining order, financial penalties for harassment, and a lien against Derek's remaining property to cover damages. The best part? The judge openly warned him. One more stunt, Mr. Reynolds, and you won't just face fines. You'll face jail time. Derek wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully. The next move he made wasn't loud. It was quiet. And far more dangerous. I knew Derek wouldn't obey the court. Not because he was brave. Because he was desperate. The restraining order, the liens, the destroyed reputation, he had nothing left. And desperate men don't play by rules. 2 weeks after the court ruling, I started noticing a silver SUV parked down the street. Always different spots. Always facing my house. Different drivers. Same vehicle. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor had family visiting. But it kept happening. Late at night. Early mornings. Jenna noticed too. Should we call the police? I shook my head. Not yet. Let's see what they're after. I bought a drone with a long-range camera. Stayed up past midnight. Waited until the SUV returned. When it did, I launched the drone and followed it. The SUV drove 3 blocks, and parked in front of Derek's girlfriend's house. That was all the confirmation I needed. Instead of calling the cops, I left my own message. Next morning, I walked to the SUV. Placed a simple note under the windshield. Your plates are already recorded. Next time, it's a felony. Choose wisely. The SUV didn't return after that. But Derek still wasn't done. He stopped going after me. He started targeting my job. I got called into HR one afternoon. Someone had sent in an anonymous complaint, accusing me of workplace harassment. Claiming I was conducting side hustles on company time. Even alleging violent behavior. I showed HR all my documentation. The court records. The restraining orders. They believed me. But they had to investigate formally, which meant weeks of tension. Rumors started flying at the office. People I thought were friends kept their distance. It wasn't just about getting me fired. Derek wanted to make sure that even if I won, I'd feel alone. I reached out to a private investigator. Old friend of my uncle's. I gave him one task. Find out where Derek's getting his money. No job. No family support. Yet he keeps pulling these stunts. The investigator moved fast. Within days, he found something shocking. Derek wasn't just living off his girlfriend. He was selling stolen auto parts online. Fake accounts. Cash sales. Shipping from a P.O. box. And Mason, despite being behind bars, had been involved too, laundering some of the payments before his arrest. Felony theft. Fraud. Wire fraud. Maybe even conspiracy charges. We built a case file, handed it directly to the local police and state investigators. And then I waited. For a week, nothing. No SUV. No online lies. No vandalism. It felt like maybe Derek had finally given up. Then, one Friday night, Jenna shook me awake around 3 a.m. Someone's outside. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept under the bed. Looked out the window. Derek was standing in the middle of our lawn. No bike. No SUV. Just him. Pale in the moonlight. Staring up at our house. Jenna called 911 immediately. I didn't go outside. That's what he wanted. To provoke me. To create a confrontation that could get me arrested. Instead, I just watched. He stood there for almost 10 minutes. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Then he turned and walked down the street into the dark. The police arrived 5 minutes later. But Derek was gone. That wasn't harassment anymore. That was stalking. That was threatening behavior in violation of the restraining order. I knew the next move had to be decisive. No more defense. It was time to end this. The sight of Derek standing silently on my lawn wasn't just intimidation. It was a message. You can't stop me. But he had made one critical mistake. He broke the restraining order in full view of my cameras. Footage. Timestamp. Clear as day. The next morning, I met with the police and handed them everything. They issued a warrant for Derek's arrest, this time for stalking and violating a court order. But he was already gone. Packed up. Disappeared. No one, not even his girlfriend, claimed to know where he was. While the police flagged his name, I took action. I hired the private investigator full-time now. We tracked his girlfriend's bank transactions. Shipping records from the stolen parts operation. Known contacts and family members. For 3 weeks, nothing. Until a break came from an unlikely source. A small auto shop on the outskirts of Arlington called me. The owner, Carlos, had heard about the trouble I'd been having. Word had gotten around in the local repair community. Carlos said a man matching Derek's description had been coming by late at night, trying to fence parts. The final piece of the puzzle. Carlos agreed to help set the trap. Carlos told Derek to come by on Friday night. Cash payment for the parts. No questions asked? What Derek didn't know, the police were waiting. So was the private investigator. And so was I. I didn't want to be there. But I needed to see it. To be sure it ended. At 11:47 p.m., Derek rolled into the shop's lot driving a borrowed pickup. Bed filled with stolen parts. He got out. Started unloading. That's when the squad cars pulled in from both ends. Lights on. Guns drawn. Derek froze, hands in the air. For a second, he locked eyes with me across the lot. No anger. No rage. Just disbelief. Like he never thought it would come to this. By the time the dust settled, Derek was facing felony stalking. Multiple counts of restraining order violation. Auto parts theft. Fraud. Conspiracy. And because Mason had cut a deal to reduce his sentence by turning over financial records, the money laundering charges stuck. Bail was denied. The DA wasn't just pushing for jail time. They were pushing for years. Not completely. Because as much as I wanted to believe Derek was out of our lives forever, the damage he caused didn't vanish overnight. Some neighbors still whispered about the drama. HR at my job kept me under probationary review for another 6 months. Jenna struggled with anxiety every time she heard an engine roar, even if it was just a passing truck. And Sophie? She started having nightmares. Even though she didn't fully understand what had happened, kids pick up on fear. My family had been dragged through hell. Revenge served.